Despite the recent press suggesting otherwise, the Zika virus is not new. In fact, it was first discovered in Uganda in 1952. It's been in the press recently due to a 2016 World Health Organization declaration that the Zika was a public health emergency. Brian, should we be afraid?
I think we should be concerned. Looking at the virus itself, if you're not pregnant, as a pregnant female, the main symptoms are rash, fever, joint pain.
Right.
It's a disease that can be overcome.
Right, and treated.
But a female who's pregnant can be infected and will cause microcephaly, shrinkage of the head.
As we saw this week, the first case in the United
New Jersey.
States.
Yep.
So there's certainly a potential for that to be a major problem if it starts to take hold in this country, as it has in Brazil, where the Olympics are next month.
Did you know today that one of the star pitchers for Detroit had it?
No, I didn't.
And he's dealt with it, and he's back pitching as strong as he ever has.
Yeah.
So there has an athlete did
But the danger
contact.
to pregnant females is very, very high.
Yes.
Well, that's in Philadelphia today. The lady
Right, she was from New Jersey.
from New Jersey,
Yep.
yes.
Well, and I think what we're seeing here, a lot of these diseases have been around for a while. Ebola is certainly the same case. Why we're seeing these diseases pop up more places is, A, people are traveling much more frequently. Second, there is because of whatever we want to call it, because of climate change, however we want to define it, these mosquitoes that are the carriers of these diseases are spreading their range. So I think it's a combination of two things. First of all, you have more human traffic, or traffic as in people traveling from Central Africa, where a lot of these diseases come from, into South America, which is a very similar environment, and then spreading in those areas. And then because of the human migration that occurs on a regular basis for business, for travel, or pleasure, whatever it may be, then it's spreading into other areas. And they were saying even in the U.S., the Zika-bearing mosquitoes will be able to spread into most of the lower 48.
So my big question about this, and I have no point of reference, this is truly a question, I don't have an opinion on it, but the president wanted $1.9 billion of funding to fight it.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate passed what I believe was a $1.1 billion.
$1.1 billion.
And the House passed a $611 million or something like that, $622 million. How much do we need? I mean, again, given what we've seen so far.
I think we go off by what the CDC recommends and what types of mitigating effects need to be brought to bear to try to contain the mosquitoes. Mosquito abasion, proper vaccination if possible. I don't know, is there a vaccine for this disease?
No, not
There's
currently.
no vaccine.
It's under research. And I think you bring up an excellent point, which is, and having listened to the debates in Congress, it's very upsetting to hear politicians tell the experts, and I don't think anybody can criticize the CDC for the job that they do and for the capability that they have, to tell them that it's not really their decision or their place to advise how much money should be spent on a disease is ludicrous.
I also believe the president issued a veto threat on the House bill because of the funding was below, half of what the Senate passed.
Right.
I don't think the House understands the reality of the situation very well.
No, I
think
really
they do.
don't, and I don't think that politicians are not doctors. They should at some point take the advice of the people who are on the front lines. I mean, the same as I would argue if we were in an imminent danger of war, I would not want congressmen to dictate to generals how many troops we need or what kind of weapons mix they should have.
How about when they come back from war and do what we've done forever and not fund people that need health care?
Oh no, we forget about them then.
Yeah, we forget about
Just
them.
the same way that we're completely opposed towards any sort of policy of birth control, but as soon as the kids are born, who cares?
Yeah, then, and I think it's a serious issue now, how we deal with it. How did we deal with Ebola? How have we dealt with any other disease? What is the right amount of money? So have the right amount there. If you don't use that amount, fine.
Another thing with the House bill, they actually took money from the Ebola fund and put into their own appropriation for the Zika fund.
Well, and
But I will say that the Ebola czar came out on record and said that he thinks the $622 million is not enough.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know what the right number is.
No, but I think you brought up a good point, which is if you look at the way we dealt with Ebola, first of all, we invested in the front lines. We invested in these countries. We helped them set up quarantines. We helped them set up care facilities there.
And of course, the
which
military is going to be
contained.
on the front line
Right.
with that too.
exactly. So we have to contain the disease. Now, obviously, this is spread into Brazil, and the part that really worries me about it, as you brought up, is the fact that we have the Olympics next month. Is going to bring a lot of people into a tropical environment that's full of mosquitoes. People are going to get bit, and it's going to spread.
What do we do about that? What would you do? If you had a chance to be in an Olympic event, you worked your whole life to be there, would you go or not go?
I have been to Brazil in the past. It's not necessarily my favorite place in the world. So would I go to Brazil to see the Olympics? Not in the areas where they're at. I really don't like the heat. So.
But look at the problem they've had down there with the president, with all the issues in Brazil. Now
Well,
with this, how can it possibly be a success?
There are some real concerns around the facilities or lack thereof, especially when it comes to swimming. So they already were having a lot of issues or a lot of concerns around the prevalence of sewage in some of the major waterways that are going to be used for events, for decathlons and triathlons, what have you, as well as just the state of disrepair of a lot of the other Olympic facilities, lack of air conditioning, lack of facilities for the athletes. And I think this kind of puts the almost a crown on the pyramid there. I honestly would not be surprised if the Olympic, well, and I think maybe too late at this point, if the Olympic Committee should have considered more seriously potentially canceling or postponing or
And
moving.
back to the House and Senate bills, they're going to go to conference sometime in July before the August recess. If they don't reconcile these differences,
We're going to
it's going to be,
yeah, we're going to have
There is going to be no Zika response.
there'll be no response.
And you know, I say how there's not a ton of cases, but there's 591 according to the CDC as of May 25th. So
In Brazil or worldwide?
no, United States.
Okay.
Now they're travel related in most cases, but regardless, they're here.
Well, and it's summer season. Mosquitoes are going to be out.
They are indeed. All right. I think
Next up on the flip side, the Freddie Gray case. One hung jury, one innocent verdict, several trials to go. Our panel weighs in.